advantage, so I think you sure feel like you did.
Well, I hope so. The thing I was most pleased about is that I didn't think we had a great week. We had some good days, but we didn't have a great week of preparation. I think, the kids were a little bit emotionally drained from Florida. And of course, we emphasized that they were playing a team that could beat them if we didn't prepare well and play well. And they could have. So the thing I was most pleased is that we came out and played really well early and did some great things. Disappointed in the way we finished the game, and the fact that number one, I thought we didn't play extremely alert. But then when we put some players on the field who need to be able to help us in some critical situations, second teamers and some other guys, didn't play very well. And don't want that to slow us down, if you will, in what you're asking. We need to be going forward. It's like we told them at halftime, either we get better in the next 30 minutes or we go backwards. And I don't know if we got better or not, but that was the only thing that was a little concerning.
Ellis, not so much for this game, but for the next two, how big was it to get 2 defensive touchdowns and kind of get some confidence going in that department?
Well, we've steadily improved a little bit in turnovers over the past 4 weeks, but I think those kind of things probably light a spark in players. Sometimes you preach things and you talk about things and you keep looking for things to happen until it happens that a player doesn't have anything to relate to. So now they've seen some turnovers go for touchdowns. Now we've seen some things happen like that, and it just, it's human nature. It causes them to look for more and think they can cause more. And I hope that will continue. But I thought the turnover was very good. Obviously scoring on defense is good. But the biggest thing early in the game is they could not run the football. And we were able to play some things that maximized our pass defense, both pressure and coverage. And that's where most of the turnovers came from.
Ellis, what happened to Stephon and how is the?
He got hit in the head. I don't think it's very serious at all. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know. But we sort of took a very precautious, safe approach. There were some other players that were pulled off the field at different times, just trying to cut the number of reps. When we felt like we were going to win the ball game, you get less concerned about statistics and more concerned to make sure the next 2 ball games you got everybody you need. We didn't want anybody on the field that was going to be critical to us the next 2 weeks, unless we were putting people out there who just couldn't function. And that happened a little bit in the second half, and we had to put some guys back out there. But back to your question, I think he's fine. He may miss a day of practice or so, but he's not serious.
Last year, I believe you gave a pretty passionate speech to the team prior to the Clemson game about the importance of the game. Do you think the way this thing's playing now, do you think you have to give that same type of speech? Do I think this team has a better mindset going into that game?
Well, I don't know. I was kind of, when I did it, I was just kind of speaking from the heart. Growing up in South Carolina, I just love the state of South Carolina football. All colleges and universities, high schools and everything else. I wanted our kids to understand how special the rivalry is to our Gamecock nation. Although these 2 schools have split up and gone separate ways in conference ties and other ways, it's caused us not to recruit as many kids in head-to-head battles as it went on 30 years ago. And I think that sapped the rivalry a little bit in some ways. Our players couldn't relate to it because their players really never visited us and our players never really visited Clemson. And you'd be surprised how few players are on our roster and their roster who boiled their decision down to Clemson, Carolina. 30 years ago, I bet 85% of the rosters came down to picking between Carolina and Clemson. So I think that and some other things have sort of sapped the rivalry. And I know what the importance is to the Gamecock Nation and to all of our supporters. And that's all I was trying to get our players to understand. And a lot of those guys may not have understood how important it is to the people who come and sit in the stands and cheer for them, the people who pay for the scholarships, and the people who, laugh with them and cry with them as the season goes on. So I just tried to get them to understand how special this rivalry is that's coming up, and hopefully it made a difference. I don't know. Even whether we play well, we don't play well, or we beat them, we don't beat them, I want them to understand how important it is to the University of South Carolina that we play well against Clemson.
Coach, Troy came into the game averaging almost 300 yards passing. You held them to 183 last week against Florida, they did a good job against the pass. Is this a sign of the competition, or is it progress?
I know there's some progress. I'm not gonna say we've got all our problems solved. A lot of times your performance has a lot to do with what you do. It also has a lot to do with who you're competing against. And we hadn't seen Ryan Mallett the last 2 weeks. And I don't see him again anytime soon. But, I don't know. There's no question we've made some progress. Coach made it a point of emphasis. He's tweaked the practice schedule, and every day he asks us, do we still want to do pass scale against each other? And our answer is yes. I hope it's making them better because it's obviously helping us. We were getting very little out of working our pass defense against our scout team. And those 10 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes a day we've been spending over the last 4 or 5 weeks have definitely helped us in the perimeter. The other thing that's gotten better, I think we've obviously pressured the quarterback better. Even in the early part of the season, sometimes statistically we were up there in sacks, but I don't know, we were pressuring quarterbacks. And we're doing that better. So there's a mixture of things there. I'm not about to step out and say that we're great pass defense right now. I think that we certainly have improved.
I guess getting back to the rivalry, do you think the separation has sort of prevented from being taken in the same breath as the Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl, in terms of the great college football rivalries?
No, I don't know. On the national stage, I've been involved in the Alabama-Auburn game, and I understand that nationally they get a little more TV, a little more pub. I think when our two programs keep improving and we start having things riding on it other than bragging rights, then it'll get that way. And that's what I'd love to see. I'd love nothing more than to play at Clemson University in a 12th ball game of the season. Both of us be undefeated and have something nationally riding on it. It hadn't happened very much, in these two schools. But I'm just saying, growing up here, I know what it means to the supporters of these two schools. I've worked up there and I've worked in Carolina, and I know how important it is to the people who support these programs. And I don't want our players to think that they're indebted to anybody, but I want them to understand when you play in this game, you put it all out there because these are the people that really support you and are the reason you're here on scholarship.
I think Coach would welcome to something like 49 South Carolina players on our roster. Does that help it matter more to those kids? Is that a part of it?
Well, I would think an in-state kid would obviously have more understanding of it. But it really boils down more to the fact that since we've ended up in separate conferences and a lot of different things have factored into it, the recruiting is a thing that has separated the two schools from each other. And in fact, the only time we really go head to head is when we're on the field on Saturday. It used to be a 365-day-a-year battle. And what's happening now is more kids want to play in the ACC or want to play in the SEC, or they want this type of environment, they want that type of environment. In fact, the number of players that actually take an official visit to Clemson or take an official visit to the University of South Carolina and then end up signing at one of those other schools is very few.
Given the importance of this rivalry, are you surprised South Carolina hasn't won 2 in a row since 1970?
Well, I remember when I first got here, and I was at a nice dinner with some supporters, and one of them were telling me what had happened over the previous 8 years, and I really hadn't noticed. I'd been at the Citadel, been in Alabama, been in Mississippi State, and had my own problems, my own battles to fight. But it has been kind of unusual. It's very unique. All we can do is try to make sure that it starts the other direction. We do our best to get a streak going the other way.
Coach, how do you address the depth issues, especially coming up with these 2 big games you've got ahead of you?
Well, there's not much we can do now other than hopefully we get a good report tomorrow. Excuse me. Hopefully we get a good report tomorrow, on any kids that got banged around or bumped. And, we don't have any missing. I don't think there's anything we're going to be able to do in 5 days. There's nobody coming back on the roster that has been out for a while. Some of these kids have stepped up and played very well, and we have to continue to have confidence in them. That's just football. That's part of football. When a player gets his opportunity, and you're going to get it in this game because there are going to be injuries, he's got to step up and make plays.
Last one.
But I think, we've proven we're okay. We've lost a few guys that could make a few plays, but I think the guys who stepped in have done a pretty good job.
you mentioned kind of getting the thing turned back around in the Clemson series. Is this school as equipped as it's been, do you think, in a long time to do that with talent and just whatever else it takes to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question we're heading in the right direction. You know, our production this year has proven it. We've had a couple of pitfalls and ones we'd like to take back, but Clemson has too. Clemson's made progress. Both of these programs, when you look at it nationally, the financial commitment, the stadiums, the support, it's just really unique, you know, in this state. The two universities can have that kind of support in major college football the way we do. So while we're making progress, they certainly are too. And you know, I just, you know, I think you can kind of throw it all out the window though. And Monday, no matter what we've done and no matter what they've done, and I really haven't heard what they did today, but I can bet you over the next 5 or 6 days, you know, you can forget about the records and forget about, you know, who's had problems with this, that, and the other, depth charts, red zone, what all that'll be a moot point. It's going to be tough for us to go up there and win in Death Valley. And hopefully we'll have a great week of practice. And if we do, I've got confidence in our kids we can get it done.